Hey everybody, John LeTourneau here, Director of Commercial Operations at eXp Commercial, bringing you your third quarter update and forecast for the retail property segment. Interesting times in retail. Ever since COVID, when it certainly went through a tough time, we've seen steady and consistent improvement in everything from small box, local mom and pops, up to some mid-sized retailers. So where are the opportunities and what does it look like? Let's dig in. Starting nationally, our vacancy rate is only at 4.33% overall. This is incredibly low, especially when you consider the massive supply of retail that's out there. We're near historic lows. Our net absorption, interestingly, is negative 7 million, but we're starting to see some ripples come through the market. Like maybe it's not all that great sometimes, but maybe it will be. But what does that negative absorption represent? It represents a flight to quality where people in B and C locations have backfilled a space up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to those properties on the fringe, maybe around the corner from the main corner, and if they suffer in the next into Q4 and Q1 of 26. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. Cap rates averaging around 7.2% for a well set up neighborhood center. But we haven't seen quite the huge re-equalization since interest rates have reset that we thought we'd see, but still, it's a healthy rate. And if you've got someone coming out of multifamily, for example, where they're selling at a low cap, a 7.2 is a really great number for them. Also, depending on their debt, if they're buying all cash. So where are we seeing the strongest markets? And this is what's fascinating. You look at Dallas Fort Worth, vacancies at 4.9, positive 1.4 million square feet of absorption, and that's fabulous. They're rocking there. But under construction is interestingly, they have the highest under construction in the country at 7.5 million square feet coming under construction there. So Dallas is great. I always then look at it and say, okay, if that's 7.5 million coming, what are the B and C centers going to do there when they have all this beautiful new retail to contend with? So there might be some challenges if you're dealing with small to mid-market owners there. Okay. But there's huge job growth. Everything's flooding in there as far as people goes, and job growth and economic growth is great. Phoenix, awesome as well. You're seeing 4.5% vacancy. Construction is high, but it's fairly well absorbed. Retail rents are up 3.8% year over year. Strong numbers and great outlook as well, because again, it's a job market people are moving to. Third, Raleigh. Raleigh's on fire as always, right? But the vacancy is only 2.4%. You want to talk about a tight market to try to be a tenant rep? Difficult position. Great spot to be a landlord rep all day. The net absorption, though, is only 400,000 square feet compared to the big hitters. But when you look at scale of market, that's a huge, huge amount of absorption in a small area. But their rent growth year over year, reflecting at 2.4% vacancy, is 7.2% year over year growth. That is a great day to be a retail landlord in Raleigh. And I got to tell you, if you're anywhere near there and you're not reaching your owners, you're missing huge opportunity because they may be able to sell a very well capitalized asset that a lot of folks are looking for. Okay, very strong. Now you look at Tampa. God love Tampa. Vacancy at 3.5. Net absorption is kind of balanced, but your rent growth is 5.1% year over year, meaning we're getting a ton of people again flying to better assets. Those are backfilled, and now that rent ripple is going down to the B and C properties. So pretty good stuff. Demographics are always solid, and Florida is always a place to go, right? So not everything's always rosy. So where are some challenges out there, right? And when I hear challenge, I hear opportunity. Because look, for everyone having a challenged asset or a distressed asset, there's an opportunity someone can come in, purchase it at the right price, reposition it, and do really well with it, and also revitalize communities that way. Number one, Detroit. Vacancy at 5.9 doesn't seem high, but net absorption is almost 2 million square feet in the negative. That's huge. It's among the worst in the country. But if you look at it by size, Detroit is a smaller metro, and to lose 2 million square feet, massive, massive. Unfortunately, lots of old inventory there and low demand. LA, interesting to hear this about LA, right? 5.9% vacancy. Okay, but minus 2 million square feet. That's the worst major market in the US. There's a huge flight out of urban areas and out of California. LA is kind of definitely the bellwether of showing how that's affecting them, right? High cost, sluggish leasing, malls are just dying out there as well. And there was a huge push towards large scale open air malls that's now being moved away from. New Haven, Connecticut, tiny little New Haven, great little town. Vacancy 7.1, minus almost a million square feet. Now that speaks to the broader Connecticut market, of course, because it's a small market. But when you lose a million square feet, that's very tough. Downward rent pressures. So that's a struggling market, definitely. Okay. So what takeaways do we have, right? As I always said since COVID hit, if it can come on a truck from someone like Amazon or someone like that, you don't want to be in the retail business because you will not compete and win. So service oriented, pizza, hair, nails, experience oriented, the salt cave, the whatever those experience oriented things are, those are killing it. Personal care, restaurants dominate the leasing efforts all day. Malls, stay away. What I joke about this, and you'll hear it also in the office outlook when we talk about it. The next occupant of many malls and high-rise office will end up being a bulldozer because the best and highest use for that is to take that space down, revitalize it, and maybe even at that point scrape it and go, what else can we do for the community with this space? Okay. Single tenant net lease. Let's talk about that for a minute. So you've got some really fascinating factors. We still see five and sub five rate cap rates for 5% cap rates for Chick-fil-A's, McDonald's, quality things like that, which is intriguing when your debt constant, if you had to get debt, is at 7.25, 7.5. So they're definitely appealing to an all cash safety play. One of the challenges we see is like Walgreens, Rite Aid, the drug and pharma was seen to be huge and incredibly like stable. Like, oh, everyone needs a drugstore. Well, you look at those guys were signing 50-year leases with no rent increases, and they were being sold at really low cap rates, meaning every year when inflation went up and your rent stayed dead flat, your ultimate erosion of the dollar value is huge. So you end up actually losing value in asset over time. It becomes a long-term land play. The drug and farm industry would see as like, hey, this is a safe bet. We got this. The interesting thing now is Rite Aid's closing hundreds of locations. CVS is closing hundreds of locations. So there's going to be opportunities for folks who bought these at really low caps and then the tenant pulls out to reposition those assets. Maybe they cut them up into multiple tenants, get a buyout from CVS or Rite Aid on the way out, and then split it into maybe a 3 or 4 tenant and turn it from a single tenant net lease into a multi-use local neighborhood center. Spec construction is very, very low right now, except certain hot spot markets. But overall, spec construction's low. They don't want to take the gamble because I think people are understanding, yeah, it's great now, but it's going to level off. So that actually is very favorable to your landlords, to your owners, going, hey, cool, I'm not going to have any foreseeable competition in most metros. Again, thanks to our data partners at CoStar for helping provide the information that we use and combine it with our internal information to create this report. But always leverage CoStar, which is our platform, to dig into this stuff, and we can get great insights into it. So this is the wrap up of your retail trends, exciting times, lots of opportunity around the country. Please reach out to us if we can help in any way, shape, or form. eXp Commercial is always here for you.